Hey, what's up, Roxstars? It's Rox coming to you today with the review for Real Housewives of Potomac, Season 7, The Reunion, Part 2. So let's get to it, shall we? All right, you guys. So the show picks up where it's kind of ended last week, which was with Candace and Giselle going back and forth about how Giselle lied on Chris on the show instead of talking about her dwindling uterus, okay? And when Candace says dwindling uterus, she means the fact that Giselle was about to have a hysterectomy and didn't even really want to bring any of that to the table until the very end of the season, but instead, continued on with the Chris lie. Giselle tells Candace that she's the one that made this whole situation bigger, and Candace said she absolutely did not. Now, I don't think that Candace made the issue any bigger than it was already going to be, considering the fact that Giselle, every time she turned around, was telling somebody about Chris being this sneaky link and him trying to see if she was with it. She told everybody that. She's the one that harped on it. Of course, Candace is going to react to it. So, if Candace made it bigger, it's only because Giselle kept on bringing it up. Mia agreed with Giselle, and Candace was like, Mia, shut up, okay? Because that's not true. You know what else wasn't true? All the lies that Deborah, the Cookie Monster, was spreading on the show. Ashley, what do you think about that, Ashley? Well, the comments that Deborah gave did not align themselves with what really happened when we saw it on the show. But Deborah maintains that it was because of editing. Of course she would maintain that. Chris was not thinking about Deborah the same way that Happy Eddie wasn't thinking about Deborah. These women act like men can't even say hi to them just by being respectful. The minute somebody even look their way, they think that somebody want to talk to them. Somebody trying to cheat with them. Bottom line, Deborah's a liar. I'm so glad they didn't even have her on the reunion because she was a moot point. As far as Candace's live, remember when Candace went on the live and she was like, all these girls are fake. Everybody here is just to peddle their business. Remember, first of all, you guys told me that was from a different issue. They didn't address that it was from a different issue. I was under the impression that she did that while they were out of town, but you guys were like, no, that was something separate. But they never made that distinction on the show. So we can only go by what was going on the show. And apparently they made it seem like Candace did that while they were in, where were they? In Miami, I think. Robin said that the reason why she was so offended by that is because she knows that her and the other women on the show all have businesses. So she felt like they were, she was talking about all of them. But I told you guys in my review back when that happened, and just like Candace said on the reunion, is that if I was Candace's friend and she did something like that, even if I was a part of that friend group that she was talking about, I still wouldn't have thought she was talking about me. I would have assumed that she was talking about the ones that get on her damn nerves in the group. And I might have been like, girl, I know you wasn't talking about me. And all she would have been like, no, girl, I wasn't talking about you. I was talking about them other bitches. And I would have been like, oh, okay. But I would have already known that. And that's what Candace told Robin. Like, you guys should have known who I was talking about when I said that. Okay, but Robin kind of wanted to use that to try to make everybody be upset with Candace. Wendy did take a certain offense to the fact that, when we start talking about loyalty and how Candace felt loyal to Robin, and how I guess Wendy felt a way about that because, Wendy has been loyal to Candace. And Candace was like, why is it that in this group we can't be loyal? I mean, why can't we be friends with a whole bunch of people? Like, I have to have a certain list of who I am loyal, most loyal to least loyal to. It's just sort of like, oh, you guys are so high school on this show. I was so tired of it. But what was interesting was when Robin says, you know what, Candace, you get so upset because we're on the show. Everything that we do is caught on camera. You're upset that things are caught on camera. You want it to happen off camera. And, Robin's whole thing was just sort of like, but that's not going to happen because we're on a reality show. So we film everything that happens in our lives. And then, of course, Bravo was like 2 weeks later. And it shows when Robin gets caught up in her web of deceit. keeping away the whole story with Juan cheating, okay? So that was caught off camera too, right? I said, boy, I know Robin is sitting home watching these reunions and just being like, boy, I put my foot in my mouth a whole bunch of times. Yeah, you did. I'm still very interested in what's going to happen to Robin. I don't think that she's going to get put off the show, but I really do feel like she could sit out or a season the way that they did Kenya. And she can be a friend of the show, but I think that she needs to learn that, Bravo don't like when you do shit like this, okay? If she's not punished in any kind of way, then it's just going to be like, okay, so everybody can do it. All right, so I feel like Bravo is going to have to they're gonna have to stick it to her in some kind of way, but we'll see how that goes. So anyway, after they get into the whole conversation about loyalty and all of that, it's like, okay, let's take a break. So we get a few minute break, and they go backstage and we see the men. So we know that the men are going to be coming soon. It was funny because Gordon, when he saw Candace or Wendy or whoever it was, he was like, I ain't hugging nobody because y'all make a nigga catch a case around here. And Wendy tells Eddie how Mia kept on bringing him up, at least 3 times, and Eddie hasn't even been there. I don't even know what we talked about Eddie for. What has Eddie even said or done this whole season, It's foolishness, you guys. Now, let's move on to the next segment. So, Giselle, are you in your forever home? She says she's only going to be in that home until her girls are all gone, away to college. Then I guess she's going to probably downsize. She won't need a house that big any longer. Everything is going well with Giselle. The Reasonably Shady podcast is way more successful than they thought. They've got about 80 episodes under their belt. They've got more than 4 million streams. Okay, everything is good. They asked Karen if she stole the live idea from Robin and Giselle the same way that she stole the candle idea from Wendy.
With all due respect, Wendy, I launched my perfume 4 years ago. And when that did launch, I let everybody know that the candles were coming next. So even though I didn't say anything when Wendy came to the house, I did not want to steal her thunder. But the candles was always in the works. It was always in the works prior to anything that Wendy might have said.
And actually, I do believe Karen, okay? And it's just candles, you guys. I mean, that's not just this concept that's just so big that most people wouldn't think about it. Candles is a common thing where people that are in fragrance, you kind of see how they could naturally veer onto candles and other home houseware items, which she did sort of say, okay? So, I can believe Karen with that. As far as the live idea, again, people can do lives. People that do podcasts and different things do lives as well. So it's not anything exclusive to Robin and Giselle that Karen can't do the same. Andy seemed to imply that Karen stole the idea from, I guess, the person that's in the show, the drag queen who is in the show. I think Andy was saying that Karen took the show that person did and kind of put herself in it and kind of stole the idea. And she was just like,
well, you know what, Andy? Actually, the inspiration was Carol Burnett. That it's a variety show. Candace had it right when she said, is this a variety show? Yes, it's a variety show.
Now, moving on to Giselle's hysterectomy. This is a rare occasion when Giselle did get emotional. She said that the hysterectomy was rough, that she was supposed to be in surgery for 3.5 hours. She was in for over 8.5 hours, that the doctors were updating the family until they weren't anymore. So that, of course, made her daughters afraid. And then when she finally came out of out of the surgery, then she had to have a catheter and she had to have all this other stuff. She thought she was going to be going home that same day, which I was just like, oh, you go home on the same day as your hysterectomy? I guess you do now if there's no problems. But she ended up having to stay overnight. So the girls were really upset and felt like she was never coming home again and were very worried and, okay. I think the point that they were trying to make with this whole hysterectomy is like all that could have been on the show. We could have seen what was going on with Giselle instead of her just giving us the play-by-play at the reunion. Giselle makes everybody She confronts everybody on any story that she's heard, whether she knows it's true or false. She's still going to follow the lead. She's going to ask the person about it. And even if that person doesn't want to talk about it, she's going to make them talk about it. She was just like, it's not my fault. People, they don't have to say what they don't want to say. And Karen was just like, oh yeah, but that's bullshit, Giselle, because you bully people into giving you the answer. And she's trying to say that she doesn't when she absolutely does, okay? She is going to continue to ask that person until she gets the answer that she wants. And I think that it was probably worse this season than any other time. I don't know what Giselle was on this season, but she definitely, and she admitted in the confessional quite a few times that she gon' be messy. She is going to lie if she has to, just to embellish the story to make it even more juicy. She's going to find out, that is what Giselle does. So for her to act like, I don't make everybody say, of course you do. You do pressure people. Talking about she does say it, it's just production doesn't show it. Girl, please. So then I guess to give him a little something, she tells him about her dating life. Do you go out with the Steven guy often? And she says, when he comes to town, I will go out with him. But I don't ask him to come to town. That's the one thing. All right. When he comes, he comes. Well, what about this new young lad that you're seeing? What's the age difference? Giselle says, well, I'm not a mathematician. I don't know. Robin was like, well, I know. How old is he? I can let you know, There's a good little difference between distance in age between Giselle and the young guy. But so what? Okay, she ain't even serious with old boy in the first place. Do you have him come to town? She says, he actually calls me and asks me, can he come to town to visit? And then I let him know when he can come. Were you with him last night? She says, yes, actually she was. Okay, were you guys doing reunion prep? Yep, reunion prep. That's exactly what they were doing. I said, girl, ain't nothing going on with that man talking about next season. If you guys are still together, will we see him on the show? She says, yes, okay. Well, I don't care who tell it. Let's move on to Wendy and her health issues. Wendy, are you doing better? She says, yes, she actually is. She's making sure that she drinks her water. She's making sure that she puts her health first because she's very busy, the 4 degrees and teaching and all of the other things, correspondence and all, she's got to make sure that she takes out time for herself. And now you wanted to get into this restaurant business and you don't really have any experience in restaurant businesses. Now, you think that that's a really smart thing to do? And she was like, you're right. I don't have restaurant business experience. And no, I guess maybe it's not that easy when you don't have the experience. And they were like, she did speak with Candace and Ashley just to get an idea of how they felt about it. And they both did try to talk her out of it. Is more than a notion. But Ashley said it did help that she was partnering with Peter. Oh, good thing that you brought up Peter. Mia, you said that you and Gordon, you guys slept with Peter's girlfriend? And she was, no, that's not it. Okay. I mean, me and Gordon, we had a thing with her. She wasn't Peter's girlfriend at the time. But yeah, they did have a little something going on. Andy was just like, I never understood why you threw the drink on Wendy, because she wasn't really saying anything bad to you at the time. Mia was just like, well, what I was hearing at the time was clearly something different than what Wendy was saying. I felt like Mia was trying to shut Wendy up because she didn't know what Wendy was about to say and wasn't prepared to have whatever information that she thought Wendy was going to say to come out. Okay, so that was her way of trying to shut Wendy up. Mia kept saying that Wendy was saying a whole lot. And even though we didn't see it on TV, that it was just so much going on that she got frustrated and she threw the drink on her. That she, in retrospect, knows that she didn't relay her message well. Wendy was like, you know what? You assaulted me and you still won't take accountability for it. Now, we are sitting here on this stage and I'm just gonna let you know that it took everything in me not to beat your ass because I knew that I had a lot to lose, okay? But you definitely assaulted me. What you did was fucked up. So then they start going back and forth, arguing about,
throwing the drink, what Peter did. You know, Mia was just like, well, do you want to talk about, you know, you giving up the cookies to Peter? And everybody was just like, oh God, now where does this come from? Candace was like, you know, we can't just start making up lies and saying whatever we want to say when we ain't got nothing else to say. And that everybody knows Peter and Wendy did not have sex, okay? Because Mia was gonna sit on that all the way to the reunion. Come on, Mia, you just coming up with whatever. And Wendy was just like, I ain't had no sex with no damn Peter. You know, Mia, oh, I do. I know the receipts. I saw the receipts. Oh, you saw it? What did you see? Oh, I saw the camera. So Peter had you, even though it's not above Patricia to do some shit like this. But still, I don't even think that Peter and Wendy did this, you know. But she said that she saw the camera footage from Bar 1 in Miami, or maybe North Carolina, I don't know whichever one it was, that them two had done something. And of course, we all took that with a grain of salt. I don't believe that at all. Now, Robin, got a question for you. How is it that Wendy is the antagonistic one when she's the one that got the drink thrown on her? Okay, so then Robin tries to explain, no. Okay, what I was saying was she got the drink thrown on her and she either needed to fight her, or if she wasn't gonna fight her, then she needed to stop talking because she was making it worse. She was fanning the flames by continuously talking. And if Mia would have reached over there and hit her in the mouth, then of course they would have been fighting. And I didn't want to see them fighting on TV. So I was trying to calm her down. But how do you calm somebody down when they're the victim and you're blaming them? Okay? Oh my God, Wendy, you are anybody that got a drink thrown in their face and the way that shit splashed on her face like that would have been pissed. Andy was just like, there's no way you can tell me that you wouldn't have had a reaction, Robin. I mean, we saw how you was with the umbrella. We saw how you were when you confronted Ashley at the restaurant. You definitely have it in you too. Okay, let's talk about the time when Charisse had to stop you from going over there when you guys were having an argument. You know, Robin said that she didn't need Charisse to stop her. All right. I didn't think that Robin was going to do anything then. And, you know, they kept on saying, well, stand on what you're saying, stand on what you're saying. And so Robin stood up like, I'm standing. But the whole thing was, not only was Robin standing, she was progressing towards Wendy. And Wendy was like, I don't know where you guys are from. But shit, where I'm from, if you arguing loudly with somebody and then they stand up and then they walking towards you, honey, anything can happen. So we don't know. We don't know what she was going to do. And that is why Charisse stood up, because Charisse is her you know, your response automatically is, okay, you guys, let's not fight. And you immediately stand up. Even if you don't feel like that person is rushing over there. You know, when people get mad, Blue, you know, when people get mad, all kind of shit happens. So I understood what Wendy was saying. And then they talked to Ashley about it. And Ashley was just like, I was checking up on Wendy because nobody was trying to check up on Wendy. The difference between the Wendy and the Candace situation is that when Candace got beat up by Monique, then everybody went to Candace's aid. When Wendy got the drink thrown on her, nobody went to her. Okay, and she was the one that got assaulted. So she was just like, yeah, so I was going to make sure that she was okay, and I stand on that. Okay. But then they said, but you real picky and choosy on about who you support and who you don't support, because she flip-flopped on the Monique issue all the way to the courts. All right, and they showed the clip when Ashley had told Candace that she wrote a statement to go to court when Candace was trying to sue Monique. She wrote a statement about that, about what she saw. So it's just sort of like, so you support when you want to and not when it's the right thing. Giselle says, but the difference is Monique beat up Candace, okay? Wendy just had a drink thrown on her, and I don't like Wendy. And everybody was like, but see, that's the whole thing is, they tell her that her moral compass is compromised, because it's sort of like right is right and wrong is wrong, and you switch and choose, pick and choose when you want to support somebody, depending on whether or not you like them or not. Not necessarily that it was wrong whether you liked them or you didn't. And so everybody is telling Giselle that she's wrong for being that way.
And I guess, yes, that is wrong, but I think that a lot of people also, when they don't like somebody, they are not going to support them. So I don't think Giselle is doing anything that a lot of people don't normally do anyway. And of course, Wendy reiterated to Mia that, it took everything in her not to beat her ass, that, that it was fucked up, and that she kind of even got teary-eyed and everything. She was very, very upset about what happened. And the only reason that she went to go speak to Mia when they were out of town was just so that they can move forward as a group. But best believe Wendy sees Mia. They are not friends. Wendy don't fuck with her. And then Giselle was just like, weren't you guys like checking out coochies and all of that? And she says, oh, we'll talk about that later. And I was just like, okay, I mean, yes. Y'all with all of this back and forth, we ain't friends, but we get drunk and then we be hugging and kissing and shit on each other. And it's like, that's the stuff that makes me just be like, oh, whatever. Even to Wendy, okay? It's just sort of like, if you gonna not be their friend, then keep the damn energy. Don't 2-3 episodes down the line, go to the room and y'all kumbaya and hug and kiss and make up, and then, y'all good again, and then some shit happen, and then you fight, and then you go back and say, I don't fuck with you, but I do when I'm drunk, and come on. So then we move on to the colorism segment of the show. And Andy said that because he's a white man and he is moderating this reunion of a cast full of black women, he doesn't feel like he is actually the person that should even guide this conversation. They had thought about bringing somebody else in, but the ladies all agreed that they could do it themselves amongst the group and that they didn't have to bring anybody in. So Andy kind of excused himself out of this colorism discussion. And so Candace takes the lead and says, all right, well, before we start talking about colorism, let's all just agree on the definition, okay? So then she reads the Merriam-Webster dictionary definition of colorism. They all agree that that's what it is. And so we get started on the so-called conversation. Now, I've told you guys that I don't think that colorism is an issue on the show. We have all gone back and forth with this. Some of you guys believe that it does happen. Others don't believe that it happens. I feel like if there are issues pertaining to colorism when it comes to the ladies on the show, then it is more so what the viewers see from the outside, and not necessarily that these women are being more harder on the darker skinned women, than the other light skinned women, because I still feel like the light-skinned women can be bitches to the light-skinned women and the dark-skinned women, okay? But that's just something that we are going to, me and y'all, we may not always agree on, okay? But Candace says that her feeling is when she or Wendy do things very similar to what the lighter skinned women have done in other episodes, when they've been confrontational with women, when they've acted like they're going to fight, when they've said some down low dirty shit, that the lighter skinned women don't get in trouble. They don't get held to it as much as as Candace and Wendy do. And Karen did share, she felt like, okay, there are certain things that are just innate within Black people, and that colorism does definitely exist. It started from back when there was plantation, in the slavery days, and you had the darker skinned Black folks outside and the lighter skinned ones inside, and it created this schism in between the two groups, and that is indoctrinated in us and has carried on generation to generation to generation to generation to generation, okay? And so then Ashley said that she does recognize that as a light-skinned woman, she holds privilege over dark-skinned women, okay? She acknowledges that. However, she feels like she has been in it with many women on the show, dark and light, and that it does make her feel bad that anybody would think that she's treating them their way, a certain way, because of their skin color. Okay, she doesn't do that, and she would hope that that's not how they feel. Well, Candace and Wendy actually were just happy at the fact that she said that she realized that her light skin gives her privilege. Even that helped them through this conversation. Even Mia did agree as well and say that, yeah, she feels like she has privilege too. She doesn't want to be that way because she's raising a daughter who has dark skin, and so, it's something that they all need to work on. I feel like I don't get colorism on the show, but I mean, I might just be missing it. So I'm not saying that it doesn't exist. It might just be something that I'm not aware of. But what I think happens more is there is this cliquey kind of like class, like people think that they're better than somebody else, say for instance, because they're on the show, they've been on the show a long time. People think of Giselle, as the top of the show or something. I think that there's more so like a classism feel, like, okay, I'm better than you because I'm a favorite housewife, and not necessarily because of skin color. But if everybody is acknowledging that there's colorism on the show, then I'm not going to say that it's not. I'm not really sensitive to colorism because it's not anything that I'm sure I've experienced it many, many times in my life, but it doesn't, I can't even figure out the word that I want to use. It doesn't, like when I don't know, I can only go by what I've experienced in my life. Like I have light-skinned friends, I have dark-skinned friends, and I don't think nothing of the fact that they're light or dark. I don't. Like, if I don't like you, or if we fall out, or if there's a problem, if there's been an issue, it has really nothing to do with their skin tone. So it's hard for me to zero in and hone in on when people are saying that there's colorism at hand. Again, I'm not saying that it didn't happen on the show. I just say that it's hard for me to recognize because I'm more interested in the dynamics of the personalities and the people that on the show. Because Candace I couldn't stand Candace a couple of seasons ago, and even up until last season, I wasn't really feeling Candace. It had nothing to do with her skin. It was because Candace was Candace, okay? And all of that stuff that happened after the Monique fight, it was just too much, but I also didn't like Ashley that much, and I didn't give a damn if she was light skinned. I don't know if they got anything resolved in that conversation about colorism. I went on Instagram this morning, and before I had even watched the reunion, I saw Carlos King just being so upset about them not talking about the colorism. And I was just like, but in all honesty, that conversation could have gone so long. Like, would they really have had the time on this show to actually talk about the colorism like that? I'm not sure why Carlos is this upset about it. Why he's even weighing in why is he so emotionally invested in the show? When it comes, it's just sort of like, what did you want them exactly to say? I mean, what exactly did he want to come out of that conversation? Yeah, they didn't spend a lot of time on it because honestly, in the reunion, that's not the place for it to me. They could even talk about that in an episode. Let's give it an hour. Let's talk. Let's sit back and go to dinner. I mean, y'all go to dinner to go and talk about each other's mans. Y'all go to dinner to talk about whose coochie y'all was looking at or who was licking what and doing all of that. Why can't we actually have a conversation about this if it's such a big deal on the show? You see what I'm saying? But just to try to give it a couple of minutes on the reunion, that's really not the place for it. So it's just sort of like, I think they just brought it up because now it's getting to the point where we can't ignore it no more. The colorism is every single time I see the comments for Real Housewives of Potomac, somebody is talking about colorism in there. So it's nothing that they can ignore anymore. But the funny thing is, what happens, I'm trying to think, do they talk about colorism issues on Real Housewives of Atlanta? Because that's a group of Black women as well. Like, do we still see the same things happening on there? I think people will say that, yeah, Kenya was being treated harsher than the other women, but there's nobody that's high. I was about to say something offensive. There's nobody that is very light-skinned or fair on Real Housewives of Atlanta. I mean, I guess you could say the track runner, what that child name is, Samari, why can't you think of her name? I mean, I guess you could say she was fair-skinned. Drew, I mean, everybody else is just kind of medium skin tone. So, but anyway, you guys, that was the discussion of colorism. Were you disappointed that they didn't talk about it more? Do you agree that it needs to be something discussed, that they could actually talk about it on the show? Or is it just something that they just needed to have a quick blip about on the reunion? Y'all let me know. And then lastly, you guys, we see Jacqueline. Jacqueline is coming. We see her backstage. You know, she's getting all gussied up to come on out. She finally comes on out, and she tells Andy that this is the first time that she's seen Mia since the season wrapped. And so after they show the package, you know, Jacqueline tells Andy that she feels like Mia wants her to look like a peasant to make herself look better. And I actually had said that in a review before. It's just sort of like, I feel like Mia brought Jacqueline on, but then once the girls kind of really liked Jacqueline and was kind of taking her in, I felt like Mia felt like threatened by that. And so then she went on to try to make her friend look bad. I've seen this happen in real life with friends and stuff, you know, that get jealous of the way a friend that they bring to a group is accepted. Like, okay, I want you to like her, but not that much. So now let me try to, you know, so she even sabotaged her own friendship. And then it's clear that they have one of those friendships that they fight a lot. They say a lot of, you know, mean, hurtful shit to each other. They make up and all of that. But it's different when it's done on TV. The whole world is watching. Mia said that she felt overwhelmed by the support that Jacqueline needed. Jacqueline was just like, I'm the one that told her that my sister could help her with her children. Like, I gave her my sister to help, and she's making it seem like I don't know what to do with my life, my kids, and anything. Andy asked Mia, well, you know what, Mia, when Jacqueline's family took you in, did they make you feel like a peasant? And she was like, no, absolutely not. They made me feel like I was a part of the family. Her parents treated me like I was one of their own. Well, do you get along with the family now? And she says, well, you know, it's been difficult, you know, considering the season. And Jacqueline was like, yeah, you know, my family has been watching. I made sure my mom didn't watch because I didn't want her to see how sickening Mia was acting. But the rest of my family is pissed. But Jacqueline's just like, you know, Mia is clearly unhinged. And she was like, what do you mean I'm unhinged? I'm not unhinged. She was like, she is unhinged. You know, you send that group text message to everybody telling them I'm on food stamps, my house is in foreclosure, you know, I'm on unemployment and all of this. Like, why would you even send that as a group text to everybody? Mia was like, and well, it was true. I said, boy, Mia, you are terrible. How you just gonna blast your friend like that? You know, and then of course her friend was just like, Jacqueline was just like, girl, your business is in shambles. Everything that you got going on is a mess right now, and I have the receipts. And Mia was just like, oh, honey, I got receipts too. Now you wanna pull out the receipts? Because I can do that. So she get her rhinestone box, and the next thing you know, Jacqueline got her paperwork, and Mia's going through her paper like, okay, you guys wanna go through this? We gonna do the receipts or not? Okay, and that's just how it ends. And I was just like, I mean, Mia and Jacqueline's friendship on the show, you can definitely see how that goes. Like, Mia now felt like she had the upper hand being the housewife, so she was bringing in her friend and all of that. But I want you to get some attention, but not more than me. So let me make sure that you stay below me. Let me make sure that everybody don't think that you got it going on like I do. Let me make sure everybody knows that we helped you get your car. And let me make sure that everybody knows that we did this, that, and the other for you. Okay? So I am still the superior here. I know that's what's going on there. And Jacqueline is just upset about it. We'll see next week what happens with these receipts and everything, you guys. But yeah, it was you know, the reunion is the reunion, child. I'm ready for part 3 so we can be done. All right, you guys, let me get on off of here. I got to get on back to work, okay? Make sure you thumbs up the video, comment, and subscribe. My name is Roxanne. The channel is It's Rox, and everything else I do will be in the bottom bar. All right. So I hope that you have a wonderful, wonderful rest of your day, and I plan on doing the same. Till next time, Roxstars. Bye.